Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Openly Gray with Sandy K. As you can see, we had some upgrades here. I have backlighting. I have an actual microphone, which I found out that you actually hear me swallow now. Great. But it sounds so much better than the previous ones. I tried the headset, but I stutter real bad because of the going around sound. So we're going to just wing it like this. The last time you saw me, I was just completed the really bad ketamine experience. And I was going to let you know about the makeup ketamine experience. And I didn't. That was actually 2.5 weeks ago. And you can tell by the way I look, it was a while ago. My hair is different. I've lost about 5 pounds. A lot has happened in that time. So let me go backwards and tell you what happened at the last ketamine experience. They brought me in. I was really calm about it. I wasn't too concerned. Since I'd figured out it was the gray truck that had set off a panic attack with the diesel fumes, I knew I'd be okay this time. And I slept really well the night before. I was very calm going down, listening to very calming music. I made sure everything was primed to have a really great experience. And I did. They lowered back, they pulled back a little bit of the drugs, so I didn't get as much as I had the time before. That might have been too much for me, alongside with the beginning of the panic attack. So they pulled it back a little bit, and it was great. I had the beautiful experience. I had the beautiful colors. I had the beautiful music. It was a great experience, and that was 2.5 weeks ago. And a lot has happened since then. So I got really busy afterwards because I felt so incredibly great. I just didn't come in the office. I did T-shirts for John and Kate. There was a lot going on here, and Ed was helping Ellen and Ryan and Kate and John with their animal trailer. So he was busy out there, and I was wrangling kids and running dentist appointments and just busyness of life while the parents are busy. So anyway, here we are, 2.5 weeks later. So a week and a half ago, recently, a week and a half ago, Ed and I decided we're going to go on vacation. This is my first vacation since the poisoning. I've gone overnights places, to my friend Holly's up in Lewiston, Michigan. I've gone, that might be it. I went to, that's a weird little piece of hair. I went to a wedding out of town, stayed overnight. And they were fine experiences. They were great. But this was a long-term being away from home in public experience. And this is going to be a very different adventure for me. So we decided to head east this year. And our plan was to go due east and hit Boston and Philly and go up the East Coast, and we're going to hang out in Maine for a while. We decided that we should probably not start off with the big crowds of people. We should probably ease in the big crowds of people with smaller crowds of people. So we went this way instead. So we went through New York. We went through Canada, actually, because where I live in Port Huron, Michigan, we are actually north of Canada for a little bit. So if this is, do you see it the correct way? If this is Michigan, you might see it backwards, I don't know. This is the east side of the state, whichever side you look at, I don't know. This is the way you see it. I don't know. Anyway, if you cross, this is Lake Huron up here. If you cross right here, there's a bridge that's about this long, and you're in Canada. And Canada goes across here to over here, and it's New York. In between Canada and New York is another bridge, and it's Niagara Falls. So I'm about 3.5 hours from Niagara Falls. And Ed and I spent our honeymoon there 39 years ago. And let me tell you, I haven't been there since our honeymoon. I never need to go back. We had a really hot spell here for a while. It was really hot. And we hit Niagara Falls that day, and there were so many people. It's gone from like very niche-y, touristy to a little more sophisticated touristy. Keeps the riffraff out, frankly, right? So many people. I was fine. But there were so many people, I didn't want to stay because I didn't want to start a vacation off like that. So we didn't stay the night there. We decided to go on. And we ended up in Lake Placid. We drove through the Green Mountains, and it was spectacular. I'd never been to northern New York, upstate New York. Northern Michigan, upstate New York. Fancy, I know. And so we ended up at Lake Placid. So we stayed, and we found hotels along the way. We didn't plan a lot of stuff ahead of time, except for two places that I'll get to. Lake Placid is where the 1980 Olympics happened. It's still beautiful. It's still, so we're walking through the town, and there's the ice arena where the Miracle on Ice happened. And I was like, oh, this is where it happened. I said, it's got to be open. He's like, no, it's not opened. Well, they wouldn't have all these rinks and then just close them down, right? It was open. And when you walk in, you see the sign that says the Herb Alpert Arena and the USA Arena. The Herb Alpert Arena is where the miracle happened. And that was when we beat the Russians. And then the USA Arena is where we took the gold medal. People think that Russia and US were in the finals. They weren't. US and Sweden were in the finals, and we whipped them hard. But anyway, the Russia round was the second to last round, not the final round. So anyway, walked around there. We were gone for 11 days. The only time I cried in those 11 days was standing in the Herb Alpert Arena, watching figure skaters do double lutzes and stuff. Not impressive. They didn't score any goals. Actually, they were very impressive. Very, very little girls and doing amazing things. But anyway, I'm standing there and video recording all the names that are of the team from 80. It made me so happy. It was really great. So then we spent the night there in town, and we went to the restaurant at the hotel. Now, as I told you in the past, I don't like my back to anything. Like people, doors. I don't like being in line, right? So they seat us, and right by the window, you can overlook the Lake Placid. And we had done lots of things before this, too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just going to go over because you don't want to hear my whole vacation. You don't. You want the highlights. So the table is sitting this way, and the view is actually that way. This view is okay, but the real view is that way. And I wanted Ed to have the really nice view. So I sat in this chair, and Ed sat across. And he's looking at me funny. He said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm good." He's like, I'm worried about you." I said, "Why?" He said, "Why aren't you sitting here?" I said, "Because I want you to have a nice view." He's like, "Hun, your back is to the door." I went, "It is." Didn't even occur to me that my back was to the door. It set up a vacation that was wonderfully blissful. We went through Vermont. We hiked some really treacherous trails there. I mean, I probably had no business on them, frankly. 2 fake knees and 1 good eye. Just saying. But I did it. In fact, one was so bad, I had to turn around and go down the rock steps backwards because it was just like so steep. But I did it, and I was proud of myself. Ed jumped in one. You see the pools at the bottom of the mountain pools, and Ed jumped into one. I wasn't going to jump in because I was afraid I couldn't get out. There was no one there to go, So he did it. It was great. He said it was cold. Mountain runoff is always cold all year round. Let's see. Then he went to Stowe. That was Stowe, Vermont we stayed in. Oh, so he rented a car. Our car is a Ford Escape, and it's too small to be gone any amount of days. So he rented a car, a Tahoe. Love it, by the way. And We're in Stowe, Vermont, and there's a pop-up storm happens. And we're staying at the Innsbruck of Stowe. Just a little chalet type hotel, which we just walked into and said, hey, do you have a room? Yes, we do. I'll take it. That's how we did it. And this pop-up storm hits, and I'm not in the living room when it happens in our little suite. I'm actually in the bathroom. And Ed yells, "Are you okay?" I'm like, yeah. He said, "You gotta get out here." I'm like, okay. A little busy. So I go out there and he goes, "Look." I look out the window and our car is here. There's a space in between and there's 2 cars with a huge tree on them. Huge tree. Yeah, those weren't rentals. They actually owned those cars. The one was okay, had a couple dings and scratches. Other one, the windshield was cracked. In fact, we didn't even move it. Ed was helping them clear their cars off. And in New York, you just can't take a chainsaw to things. Long story, another time. You have to get permission. Whatever. So the next morning, the tree crew shows up and they pull this tree off and they get it off, and the hood, the wind, what a mess. Anyway, there goes their vacation. So from there, we went to New Hampshire. We went up the Man of the Mountain. I guess the man's face fell off the mountain. I'm not sure what happened there. We went up the big cable. There's a big cable gondola. Went up that. Through all these things, I had no anxiety. I had no fear. I had climbing those things I should have been climbing. That's actual, should listen to fear, not crazy fear. I rode that thing up. That was fine. Rode it down. Walked mountains up there. It was foggy. In fact, you could pay more to go up higher, but I know what clouds look like from the top. I'm good. Came down that. That was fine. Then we drove to Maine. Now, I'd never been to Maine before. Neither had Ed. And when you fly, you go to a lot of states, but all you see are airports and hotel rooms. You don't do a lot of traveling unless you have like a really long layover. Usually you got to sleep and get up and go again in the morning. So I'd never been to Maine. I've been to New Hampshire. I've been to Vermont, but I'd never seen anything. So they're very lovely. Nice people. We met the nicest people the entire trip. So we go to Bar Harbor. And we had planned to do whale watching. We had planned to do all these things. And the whale watching tour got canceled because of all the fog. And we were there for 3 nights at a bed and breakfast. Shout out to Stafford Bed and Breakfast in Bar Harbor. Anne and her husband Robert do an amazing job. It's beautiful. The price was really good. And it's 3 blocks from downtown. And we were there for 4 days. And that's where Acadia National Park is, by the way. You drive past the park to get to Bar Harbor, and then you hang out there and you go to the park. Acadia National Park, not much to see, I'll be honest. If it's your first national park, wow. But if you've already been to Yellowstone, you've already been to Glacier, this is going to be a little bit of a letdown, I'll be honest. But Bar Harbor is lovely, and the people are wonderful, and there's lots of coffee shops and little restaurants, and I had my first fresh lobster dinner. I don't see the big deal, honestly. It tastes the same around here and costs less, frankly. The whole time, packed with people, didn't bother me. Now, one of the things that has remained through all this is I have not read a book in 3 years, almost 3 years. Because I had that spot where I couldn't remember what I'd read. And I have tried to read throughout the time, but it just didn't happen. And I couldn't remember. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it again. And I went to the bookstore. There's a bookstore right there in Bar Harbor. It's the only thing I bought, actually, in Bar Harbor. I went to the bookstore, saw a book that my nieces, Amy and Maggie, had read. And I said, I'm going to try this book. I can't, I've spent more on less. So it's $12 on a book, right? I just spent $50 on lobster, corn, potatoes, and blueberry pie, which is amazing, by the way. So I buy the book. I don't look at it yet. because I have to be in a really great place to even try it. Otherwise, the anxiety is going to kick in first. So we spend a couple days in Bar Harbor. We never got on a boat. We did drive 7 miles across the Sound, but to get there, it takes 40 minutes to go all the way around. We were by ourselves. 7 miles, 40 minutes. It was beautiful. And I'm sitting there, I thought, okay, is now the time to read this book? I don't think so. So I checked in with the family, and we were only there for an hour or so, went back to town. The other thing I was tempted to buy, which I thought was so clever, because the people in Maine have a unique syntax. I don't think it's an accent, I think it's a syntax. They don't say all the letters of the word. Okay? It's like my maiden name. For those of you that don't know, my maiden name is Mulso. It sounds like M-U-L-S-O, but it's actually spelled M-O-U-I-L-L-E-S-E-A-U-X. So Mulso is kind of like the Bar Harbor version of my maiden name. So anyway, there was a shirt in the window, and it spelled out B-A-A space H-A space B-A, and I get to giggling. And the lady who works there, she said, "See, you get it." I said, "Of course I get it." And she said, and Ed's looking at me going, "I don't get it." I said, "Honey, it says Bahaba," which is exactly how they say it. Bahaba. I didn't buy it because I figure I can make it for about a tenth of the price. Anyway, so we went from there up to, luckily in the east, everything is like 2 hours apart. Everything's like 2 hours. And I was surprised how small Maine is. It looks huge on the map. Maine is a third of the size of Michigan. So you can drive it in nothing flat compared to Michigan and New York and Pennsylvania. So we get to now we're going to go to upstate Maine. And we're at the very tippy top of the expressway, 2-lane highway, which is the highest you can go without getting on lumberland. And we want to see moose. We just want to see moose, right? And we're staying at a resort. Now, when you and I think resort and upstate anything, we instantly go to Dirty Dancing, right? This was not that. It was interesting. In fact, I have pictures that I can show you, and I could spend every day of my life in Maine during the summer. Okay. Oh, what do I do with them? Oh, yeah, they are. This is the security system once you're inside the building of your cabin. That's the security system. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you can see it on here. You can actually see outside from inside. I consider that air circulation to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. They were built in 1920. They were built as hunting cabins. It is on a beautiful lake called Moosehead Lake. And our view from Moosehead Lake was this. Can you see that? I mean, it was absolutely, upside down, something, I don't know. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We had a dock right outside our cabin. No one sat in the dock but us. I don't know if people think it belonged to our cabin. It actually belonged to the whole campground or whatever, but no one sat there. So when Ed and I went west, we saw people with their lawn chairs sitting in parks and stuff. And I said, what a great idea. So just before we left, I threw the lawn chairs and the little table in. And so we took our little chairs out there, our little table, a little bottle of water, and I started to read the book. It was so quiet. I read a few pages and went, I know what happened. I remember the characters' names. Huh. By the time we left there, 2 days later, and I read in the car the whole time, Oh, so we stayed there for 3 days. Um, I turned to Ed when we were getting ready to leave, and I said, do we really have to go to Boston? He's like, don't you want to see the history? I said, yeah, I did some research. We can fly there for $100 in September when nobody's there. I said, honey, I feel so great that I think it might undo how great I feel if we go to a place that has that many people and that many dangerous neighborhoods. I was researching where you can and cannot go. In Boston, it's kind of like Philly now. So I said I would prefer if we just went home. We can take our time going home because it's 13 hours from where we were to home. You actually go up through Quebec and then all the way down. He said, if you want to go home, we'll go home. I'm like, I don't want to go home. I want to stay here. But they were full because it's 4th of July coming up. So we couldn't stay there. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Kind of that thing. And he said, okay, find a hotel and we'll make our way home. Drove it in one day. We were home by 7:30 2 nights ago. And I read all the way home. I'm about 2/3 way through the book. I remember everything I'm reading in that book. I think that it was just so peaceful and quiet and relaxing that it just allowed that anxiety that prevented me from being able to remember what I read to just fall away. The ketamine allowed that stuff to fall away. I have not been this relaxed in almost 3 years. I feel amazing. Amazing. We walked about between 15 and 20,000 steps every day. A lot of walking, a lot of hiking, and then when I got to the cabin, I just sat and relaxed, like actual vacation should be. And I just feel incredible. Apparently, after about 4 weeks, you'll feel a dip in that, and you go back for a booster, and then you won't need a booster for a few months, and then they get spaced further and further out until you don't need them anymore. It just allows that anxiety to go, okay, nothing's wrong, you're not in danger, you're fine. It allows your brain to go, okay, this is what normal feels like, I got this now. And I'm feeling it now. I feel like I did 3 years ago. I feel happy and joy and hope. I can't say enough about how good this ketamine, or poor grammar, how well this ketamine has worked for me. If you are struggling with your meds, I'm off all my meds. No meds. Well, the thyroid thing is not part of my meds. That's just a thing, right? I'm off all my mental health meds. Don't need them. It was a step off a cliff to stop taking them. But I'm grateful I no longer require them. I'm not telling you to stop taking your meds. I am not saying that. Sandy K, Only Gray, did not say stop taking your meds. Just to clarify. Asterisk, a big asterisk. This worked for me. And if you're struggling, it might work for you. I will get back into big crowds. In fact, Bar Harbor had lots of people. There are big crowds in Bar Harbor. Bahaba, as they say. I was in very busy restaurants. I was in very, very busy stores. Lots of people. I wasn't searching for Ed the whole time. Didn't even affect me. Went to the grocery store and we got home. Not a problem. It's good. It's good. All right, how long has this been? 24 minutes. Have you heard enough about my vacation yet? Sorry, didn't need to ramble on. Well, I guess I did. Oh, Flume Gorge is in New Hampshire. Really cool thing to see. Look up Flume Gorge, New Hampshire State Parks. Fascinating. We walked it. It's a lot of up and down. We did 24 flights of stairs up and lots of mountains in between. Yeah, we walked a bunch that day, let me tell you. Things are good here. And they're going to get better and better. We're still waiting on some legal stuff to finish so I can post all of these videos. Just so you know, I watch them periodically. And what it does is it helps to remind me of how far I've come. And sometimes it helps remind me that I was there, I can get there again. This will be one of those videos. All right. Have a great day. As you can see, it's red, white, and blue here. 4th of July is this week. And we're going to spend it with the family. And it's going to be great. And so I wish you all the happiest of Independence Days. I know if you watched the debate, it was incredibly difficult to watch, regardless of what side you were on. It was hard to watch. And pray for our country, no matter what side of the aisle you lean towards. Pray for our country. So many thoughts, but I can't leave them here yet. All right. Have a great day. Again, thank you for joining Openly Gray with Sandy Kay.